Let's take a look at block elements and some character entities. So another block element we can use is a block quote. So here's block quote and a slash block quote, and it has cowardice as distinguished from panic is almost always simply a lack of ability to suspend the functioning of the imagination. It's a quote by Ernest Hemingway. And because it's in the block quotes, it's going to become its own block. So when it displays, we see Ernest Hemingway wrote as part of the paragraph, and notice the paragraph ends there, and then comes the block quote. And the block quote, because it's a block, has a space above and a space below. Cowardice is distinguished from panic, blah, blah, blah. All right, notice it didn't get the quotation marks like we saw in the last video. So it's a little bit different in that effect. Now let's look at another way to do it. So over here we see President John F. Kennedy said, "And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," and we have quotes around it. So let's look at the source code for this. I'm going to right click and say view page source. I already had it open, but I wanted to show you that. Notice what they did here. They used a character entity. President John F. Kennedy said, and so we immediately know it's a code, just like we did with the copyright symbol, and this one is LD quote. Okay, so this is the left quote, and this is the right quote, RDQUO. Okay, so this actually inserts quotation marks. So that's the special character, the character entity for quotation marks. So it's another way to do quotes. And then turning fear, notice there's space before that paragraph starts. Now there are ways to do that with CSS, but in this case, we have 3 spaces. But we know if we put 3 spaces in our code, it will not work. It will only acknowledge the first space of any of our text. So this method is another code, and NBSP, semicolon. NBSP is a non-breaking space. It's a space that doesn't break to the next line. NBSP, non-breaking space. And actually it was 4 of them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So they inserted 4 spaces before that paragraph in order to indent it slightly. We'll learn other ways to do that we could apply to all of the paragraphs on our page if we want to. We'll learn those later on. And then here's the character entity. We already know the copyright symbol and copy. And it's at the bottom there. So I want to summarize the different ways we've done quotes now. We've got a few. So up here we did quotes with the Q tag, which automatically inserted the quotation marks for us. It was right in the paragraph, and it flowed as an inline element. We also learned about the block quote tag. The block quote made it just what it says. It's a block element, so it puts space before and after, and it did not put quotation marks around it. And then the other way we saw was over here, and that's to use the character entity. And in this case, we get left quotes with and LDQUO and RDQUO. Okay, so we have left and right quotes doing it that way.